Okay, I'm just going to do a quick little before video here before I start sculpting this doll that I got today at a rummage sale for 50 cents, so I figure I have nothing to lose. I've never sculpted a doll with paper clay. I'm going to change the look of her mouth. This is the paper clay that I use for all my projects, and kind of the fun thing about paper clay is you pretty much only have one shot. Once you start the project, you got a few hours to finish it, and it sits and dries overnight, and you can add a little bit to it, but it's pretty much what you have is what you get. It has been a productive Friday night. I ended up doing her full face in the paper clay and just her mouth and her too. And these are the tools I used. And this is the next step, gesso. I get it at Walmart. It's something that I always have on hand, and it's great for filling in cracks, smoothing things in, blending them in, and getting them like the surface ready for paint. Like it's almost like a thick primer. And the paper clay is great to work with because it's clean and you can add details even after it sets for a little bit. Real fine details. So she's been gessoed and base coated in black. I chose the color black because I want all the creases and all that texture will still remain black because I'm going to dry brush over the top of that. She'll get 2 coats of the black, and then she'll be ready for dry brush. And these 2 girls have just been gessoed. They're waiting for their base coat, and I think I might do one in black and maybe one in a brown and show a couple different versions. I like to do each doll totally different. At the most favorite part of the painting process, which is I'm going to start dry brushing. Everybody has their 2 coats of their base coat color on. Everything up to now has kind of been no-brainer painting. Now the fun begins, and I have all my paints out, and believe it or not, all of these color groups, like there'll be greens, reds, yellows, purples. I'm gonna start with my darker grays and move on to the lighters, but then all of these colors will be incorporated somehow by the time it's all done. And I have a couple sets of brushes that I use. I keep them in 2 separate containers because one is my dry brushing brushes and one is just my regular brushes. Like these soft brushes here are for my base coating and detail work, anything like that. You can load these brushes up and just paint whatever you're painting. And these brushes are my dry brushing brushes, and they are more stiff, and they're meant to load up with your paint, and then they're rubbed out. I use a paper bag. You rub all the paint out on the paper bag before you start painting, and it's basically you're painting with a dry brush. It's not a brush that's wet with paint. It's most of your paint is rubbed out on this paper bag before you start to paint on your piece. Got my Hippo gray paint, a large and small dry brush. I'm going to load up this large dry brush, and I'm going to scrub it out on my paper garbage bag. You're going to need a lot of them, so save them up. And I'm going to scrub it out until there's hardly any paint on it at all. I don't want it to get muddy. And then I'm just going to take and go against the grain on her face, everywhere, on her head, her whole body. Your hand's going to get sore because of scrubbing so hard. Anyway, I'm going to do her arms and her legs and her head, and then we're going to go a little bit lighter color, and I'll be back. Okay, she's all done with the hippo gray. It gets a little tricky when you're on the arms and legs that are smooth and there's not a lot of texture. That's when you have to make sure that you have your brush real dry when you start, or it starts getting muddy. I'm probably only going to add about 3 more colors to this and then take a break till tomorrow and let it dry, because it does get muddy and needs to sink in, and the paint color does kind of settle in and change a little bit, and you might need to go back over it with the same color that you did before, because it does blend in. But anyway, I will take you through the steps as I go. I went from the hippo gray to midnight blue, something different, and I've never went this route before. And I think my next color might be like a mushroom. So I'm still going to continue and do her legs and everything, her arms. And when I'm talking about it getting a little too muddy, if you find that you have a little muddy spot, just move on, let it dry, and then when you go to your next color you can kind of blend it in and cover it up. Dry brushing is really forgiving. So, and when I'm saying that I'm going to cover her arms and legs, I'm not saying that I'm going to do every inch of her. I mean, if you want a few little splotches of the black showing through, so just basically scrubbing around. And alright, she's had a chance to dry overnight, and I've been able to work on her throughout the day, and I'm thinking her painting process is done, and she just needs some hair and some clothes. These are the brushes that I used. This was the main brush I used for all the colors, unless I was using black or blue or white or needed something really small. This was my main brush. And these were the colors that I used right here. All them colors. The red, the green, the dark brown, the burnt umber there, those were just kind of used sparingly. Just a little here and a little there goes a long way. And at the very end, I dry brushed with some black, like in the creases of the elbows and the knees. Just kind of did an overlay, a little bit of outlining on her eyes over the top of what I had done with the black. So anyway, so moving right along, I'm thinking she's looking better. I added wool roving for her hair that I had lying around, and I used a hot glue gun and fold over the roving about 1 inch in, and just found the center line where a part would be and hot glued it in place, and just little hot glue dots on the side to keep the hair in place. And I distressed her dress and her little slip, soaked it in black paint. I had a almost empty bottle of black craft paint and water, and soaked it in a bowl for a little bit, squeezed it out, and now it's drying on the line down here. Check it out. These girls are done. Oh, hey, it's the Halloween dog. And you know what? It's her birthday today. She's 11. Okay. And it's starting to rain. They've been sealed so they can take rain even though they're not really going to be outside. Sealing them actually helps so that if something sharp scrapes them. Without the sealer, it scrapes off. The paint would scrape off. So with the sealer, it does stay on pretty good. Here's crackle I used. I got it at Walmart. Inside, and I just had one more thing I wanted to show you. This is what I used for my sealer.